Beg your pardon? Meredith, who is this coarse person with the foreign accent?
This is gonna cause more confusion than a mouse in a burlesque show.
All right. Well, let's go.
Okay.
Hey, Pupin, welcome.
Hi, Danny. How are you?
Nice to meet you. You're a burlesque performer. Is that the right term?
Yes, that's right. I don't like. People will sometimes say you're a burlesque dancer, which assumes that you know how to dance, and I don't really want to say that I know that. So performer is probably better. Yeah.
Okay, good. Hey, I avoided a pitfall right there.
Yeah. No, well done with that.
Am I right in assuming you got into this a bit later in life?
Yeah, absolutely right.
You're at least 30 now, right?
At least you can double that and add a few years.
So where were you before then burlesque entered your life? What's the backstory?
Right. Okay. But my backstory is when I was a kid, so we're talking from the age of about 5, I was really into dance, and I did do a lot of dance as a kid, just the sort of normal ballet and tap lessons that kids do. And I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it right up until the age of teenage, when it was suddenly not cool anymore. And I decided that I didn't want to do that anymore. So I completely dropped out of doing it. But I was a real kind of like theatre kid when I was a kid. And then I went off and did other work. Mainly, I did quite a lot of TEFL. So I did quite a lot of teaching as a foreign language, which meant I did a lot of travelling in my kind of 30s. Going and living in different countries and teaching and working there, which was really fun. And eventually, I had my daughter. I came back to England, and I ended up where I live now, which is a town called Hastings on the south coast of England. And I was just looking to do a fairly easy, undemanding dance class because I thought it would be a fun thing to do. And I went to lots of different dance classes, and they were fun, but they weren't really doing it for me. And then I just saw a burlesque class advertised. To be honest, I didn't really have much of an idea at all what burlesque was. I had a very stereotypical idea of what burlesque would be.
A bit sexy, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, a bit sexy, and also, I mean, it is sexy, so that's not wrong. But also a very kind of traditional idea of what burlesque is, maybe a little bit based on Gypsy Rose Lee and, you know, the musical Burlesque and all that sort of thing. So it's a very sort of sanitized and you know, commercialized idea of what burlesque was.
Moulin Rouge, that music
Yeah,
video
all that kind of thing, and all the glamorous stuff, and which it is and can be, but it's also a lot more than that as well. But anyway, I went into it really blind, not really kind of thinking anything of it. It was just something to do as a dance class. And I immediately really loved it. I just found it really fun and kind of appealed to, I don't know, it's a mix of kind of like glamour and showing off and being a little bit punk as well, because it is a bit kind of punk as well. And it was just perfect for me. Anyway, so my first class was when I was 55 years old.
Wow.
Very late to be getting into this. I'm now 62, coming up for my 63rd birthday at the end of the month. So that's unusual, but not unheard of. I'll probably talk more about that. But
when you started, just to double check, what had the pole dancing, pole fit craze, had that started already? Was that there as an option, and did you try that?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know as much about pole as I do burlesque, but I think, yes, I think the kind of pole fit type stuff was around at that time as well.
Yeah, they have that thing in common when they're kind of associated with the sex arts, I suppose. One is from striptease, and burlesque maybe back in the day used to have something to do with brothels, or maybe you can tell us whether that's false or not. Maybe that's just a myth.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It has a lot to do with that, and it has a lot to do with the desire to sanitize something. And I think pole fit kind of did that as well. And some burlesque classes try to do that. So they will try to say, stripping is low class, and it's, bleh, it's not what we do. We are more, I don't know, classy than that. And the way that pole fit kind of tried to divorce itself from strip clubs. Now, there's reasons why I can see people would do that, particularly if you're offering those classes. But in my personal opinion, I don't approve of that. It's like, we're not trying to say that burlesque is better than stripping. We're not trying to divorce it from stripping and say that, we are somehow classy and they're not classy. We're somehow inventive and creative and they're not. Do you understand what I mean? I don't really like that. And I think pole fit kind of got into that sort of thing as well. And there was a lot of discussion about why it was being sanitized in that way. Does that make sense?
Yes, very much so. I didn't even realize this is great. The class wars of pole fit versus burlesque is a bit posh and bourgeois, is it? Or
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that I think a lot of performers of burlesque don't want it to be like that. We are not here trying to kind of say, oh, no, we're not strippers. We're better than strippers. Do you know what I mean? Strip is incredibly difficult to do. And we're not, it shouldn't be undermined in that way. And I think a lot of pole dancers feel that way as well, that you shouldn't try and separate it from its history and what it came through in the start as. Is this making sense?
yeah, it's interesting. So you were 55 when you got on stage for the first time. What was that like?
Terrifying.
Were you the only mature undergraduate there, so to speak, or were there others?
Yeah, when I started doing it and where I started doing it, I was definitely the only person of my age. I mean, when I started in the first class, there were one or two older women there, but they kind of dropped out. And by the time it got to the performance, it was me and other people who were much younger than me. I think, and this is not a scientific kind of study, but I feel like I'm seeing more and more new performers, so performers who've only started recently, who are older. And I think that it's becoming more kind of normal that happens, that there are more people who will join burlesque classes at 50, 60, whatever. But it wasn't my experience when I did it. I was definitely the oldest. Yeah, it was absolutely bloody terrifying, to be honest. And I enjoyed the classes so much that I'd kind of drifted into the end bit. So I drifted through all the classes, and then I'm like, oh God, I've got to do a performance now. And yeah, it was really, really scary. I went on stage. I didn't mean to do this. I went on stage with my glasses on. I meant to take them off because I was worried that they were going to fall off while I was dancing. And halfway through the act, I realised I still had my glasses on, and I was like, "Oh, this is not good. I think these are going to end up on the floor." And also, it was not a good move. Also, because I could see the audience because I had my glasses on. Now, when I perform, I don't wear lenses, and I really can't see anyone, and I actually find that quite comforting.
I was gonna say something ignorant like, oh, but now it has to become part of your performance, but part of your persona, like naughty librarian or something. But that's striptease
There are
again. But
performers who perform with their glasses on, but I was paranoid that they were going to go flying across the stage, so that wasn't my plan at all.
so how many people were there the first time you did it?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe 50, 60 or so, enough. Enough. It felt big enough. But having done that, it was really scary. The whole way through, I don't think I breathed the whole time I was on stage. I was so kind of like, But having done it and listening to applause and the kind of feeling of achievement that I'd actually got through it and done it, the adrenaline that keeps you going as well. It was an amazing feeling. It really was. And I was very quickly kind of like, yeah, I'd like to do that again. That was great.
How long and how many performances or years till you got paid for the first time? Because that's like a big moment for anyone in the creative professions, is the first coins. Yeah.
I mean, pay is a big kind of issue in burlesque. We don't get paid very much. There are very few in the UK burlesque performers who do nothing else but burlesque and are paid enough to be able to do that. It's quite unusual. So most of the time you're earning a certain amount, but you're when you take out all the travel, all the kind of expenses, incredibly complex costumes that cost a lot of money and all this sort of thing, you're not really you're barely breaking even. But I don't know, the first time I got paid was probably within 6 months or so. But as I said, I mean, it was not, you're not making money. You're doing it because you really enjoy doing it, to be honest, most of the time.
Yeah, so it was like a hobby. Are you now full time, or do you still keep a day job?
No, I'm not. I work during the day as well, but I also do other things. And most burlesque performers who are doing it as more than a hobby and are kind of existing on it, there's quite a lot of kind of other ways that they will be earning money. So usually it will be teaching. I do teach, but usually it'll be teaching or costume making or something else. You will have another skill that is linked to burlesque that maybe will allow you to make a little bit more money from it. You're also, I mean, there are also some gigs that are better paid than others. So you'll get some sort of corporate gigs where they want a kind of shiny showgirl with feathers. And if you can do that sort of thing for a corporate gig, then you're going to get more money from it. But a lot of it is door shares in, above bars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easier in the bar and nightlife industry. I feel like corporations, that kind of thing might be dying out. I don't know, you maybe know, but I would think that with HR rules, just sending that email at work that I would like a showgirl or burlesque performer at our retirement party for Bob or whatever, I think that might be a little...
There are some that wouldn't do that, I think. But I mean, the sort of burlesque that they are looking for is a very traditional kind of pretty sanitized. Talking about sanitizing it again, is pretty sanitized. It's very, very much kind of Vegas showgirl look, which is fine and lovely, but it's a type of burlesque. But there's a lot of other stuff that goes on, and I personally prefer something a little bit more creative and interesting.
And you also became a little bit of a connoisseur of the art form itself. So historically speaking, where do we start from? So basically, let's say we know nothing about this. Who are some early innovators of the art form? Where did it come from?
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, as with all histories, there's a lot of kind of debate on where things come from. And when you look at some people who talk about the history of it, they'll go right back to ancient Greece. So, you can start wherever you want, really. It's kind of, burlesque comes from to burlar, which is to ridicule something or to joke about something. So if you're going back to ancient Greece, it's kind of the comic version of serious plays. So it's taking something very serious and making a mockery of it, kind of thing. And that went all through kind of theatrical history in various ways, ended up kind of in Victorian music halls. So there was sort of the music hall tradition. And in the mid 18th century, there was a group of British performers who went over to the States and started performing over there in what they used to call leg shows, which was really, linked to American vaudeville as well. So it was the kind of music hall vaudeville tradition. The sort of classic age of burlesque is sort of from the 1990s to 1960s, maybe. When you listen to people talk about burlesque, what they know is things like Gypsy Rose Lee. They'll talk about fan dances. The sort of aesthetics of burlesque as we know it come from around about, the 20s, the 30s. In the 1940s, there was then a lot of censorship in the States. And that's when we got the pasties, because you had to cover up certain bits of the body. So you were allowed to show a certain amount, but you weren't allowed to show the nipples. So you had to wear pasties. And so the costume kind of developed a little bit around that as well. What was allowed and what wasn't allowed on stage, if that makes sense. Then it kind of declined a bit when nudity became more allowed in the 60s, the 70s. Burlesque kind of split off a little bit, and there was strip shows, and burlesque as an art sort of died out a little bit. And then you get to around about the 1990s, and there was a big sort of revival, and that's when what we call neo-burlesque started. So neo-burlesque is more the kind of empowerment sort of idea, self-expression. It's a little bit more punk, it's a little bit more political. It generally has a lot of themes of pop culture and all this sort of thing in it, if that makes sense. So that's a potted history.
Of course I'm going to focus on this, and I'm so sorry, but you said pasties or pasties.
Pasties, yes.
We're talking about the nipple coverings,
tassels.
right?
Yeah, the nipple tassels. Yeah. They're still traditional now. So when you go and see burlesque, it is a tradition and a kind of to honor the past that everybody wears pasties. No matter what your body type or gender, you do that because that is a very kind of traditional burlesque thing. And they can have the little dangly tassels on them, which allows you to tassel, which means to move those around and around in one way or another and all that sort of thing.
Sorry, it was the language mainly that caught my ear there. I'm a bit of a linguistics pervert, so I get interested in these terms. Yeah, well, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying. So the fact that performers were forced to wear coverings, and eventually they put, as a kind of FU, they kind of put tassels on them to further accentuate that they were wearing these things. And then movement came out of that because they learned that you can move those tassels. So the traditional kind of like shimmying and moving your tassels came out of that as well. So that, in a weird way, the censorship actually gave us some of the movement and costume that we have, and we still use it now.
This might be a completely erroneous question, but is there any overlap with like Arabic belly dancing and stuff in burlesque? Because that's also like you're meant to cover all the bits, but you're also shaking the exact bits you're covering to draw attention to them. So it's very, yeah.
I don't know a lot about belly dance, so I don't want to talk out of turn with belly dance because that's a whole other kind of art. But yes, it's manipulating costume with your movement to make effects. So with them, they have the kind of shimmy belts, which jingles and moves and all that sort of thing. But also the movement is often quite similar as well. So the kind of bump and grind movement that we still use in burlesque, which is like moving your hips in a certain way, it's quite similar to belly dancing and the way that they move themselves as well. So yeah, there's a lot of overlap. I don't think culturally there's an overlap. I might be wrong. Please, everyone, tell me if I'm wrong. So the movement and the look is quite similar in lots of ways. The use of costume is probably quite similar in a lot of ways as well.
So this came from the French word for to ridicule and laugh, right?
I think it's Italian.
Okay, Italian. Comes from Italian or French, whatever. I haven't been in a few years, must be 10 years now, to burlesque. The last time I went, I don't know if it was funny, at least not the way I would. I mean, funny to me, I'm maybe more of a that's material is funny rather than slapstick or things like that. So I don't remember humor being a massive part of it. Humor has more been, I've noticed it in drag shows and other dancing performances. So in your opinion, is like ridiculing things and being funny, is that a big part of it today?
Yeah, well, it's when we're talking about the difference between kind of classic burlesque and neo burlesque, you'll probably see more overtly funny acts in modern burlesque, in neo burlesque, and that is often quite funny. Or like I said, quite political, or has a kind of point of view. It has a story. The kind of more classic style of burlesque. There is also comedy, and it's kind of like a wry grin. Do you know what I mean? There's a sort of wryness. There's a sort of knowingness that it's not a belly laugh, but you're acknowledging yourself, and when you're teasing your glove and doing the kind of, oh, am I going to take it off? Am I not going to take it off? There's a certain wryness to that as well. But yeah, there are some performers who do just comedy and they're hilarious in lots of ways. It can be quite slapstick, it can be quite physical, or it can be quite clever commentary, political commentary or social commentary or whatever. So yeah, you do get quite a lot of comedy.
Yeah. And in a sense that in many ways makes it sexier. It makes it more, I don't know, pornographic is not the right word, but it makes it maybe more arousing or sexy to the viewer, the fact that it's all wry and teasy rather than maybe striptease where you expect to see titties or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, you can do a whole kind of 4-minute act of just taking a glove off. And that really is all about just kind of teasing and joking with the audience and doing the kind of will I, won't I, and all that sort of thing. And that sort of wryness is really important in burlesque.
And so for you, the current message, though, in your act, I've seen you're very this body positivity is a concept you're pushing, and that's important. What does that mean?
Burlesque is very empowering, and I think a lot of people find that quite difficult to square. But I think a lot of it depends on body positivity. Burlesque is done by an incredibly broad group of people. So I'm 62. I still got on stage and do burlesque. We have people of all sizes, of all genders, of all races, of all types. We have boylesque performers. We have everything, every kind of type of person, and it's quite inclusive. So it isn't about presenting someone who's age 20 and a size 8 and conventionally pretty necessarily. It's about watching somebody own themselves. It's about watching somebody own their sexuality and share that. I've heard it say that it's burlesque is allowing you to watch somebody fall in love with themselves.
Mm.
It's about watching somebody kind of fully embody themselves. It's also about who it's for as well. And I think there's a big misconception about the audience in burlesque. Most of the audience in burlesque are women. There are males who come to burlesque shows, but mainly it's women watching women.
Ah, is it that the women want to see someone else who has sort of liberated themselves and is expressing themselves in a way that they couldn't do themselves, or?
Or you can inspire them to kind of do it. You don't necessarily inspiring them to get up and perform, although I'd love it if people do. But yes, it's about seeing things reflected back in an inspiring way.
Yeah. Boylesque is hilarious though, by the way, because the way you pronounced it, boylesque, maybe made me think of like a Brooklyn Jew, of which I know many, going to a burlesque show, you know?
Yeah, it's probably pronounced like that. They might get a bit of a shock.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that is really important. It's it's about kind of representing as well. That's why I'm really pleased to be doing it at an older age. Because, as I said, a lot of our audience is women. A lot of our audience is older women as well, actually. And the comments that I most like getting after shows when you're kind of mingling with audience or whatever is it's so nice to see somebody my age doing this. So it's about representing, I suppose.
And how about the audience? Is this still a nightlife thing? Like we're talking late at night, or is there family burlesque, or how does when you perform, is it always at 11 p.m.?
I have been invited. I mean, there are sort of daytime gigs that I've done, daytime stuff that I've done locally for local events. For we have a local carnival for Pride, all that sort of thing, where there will be younger people in the audience. So you have to really adapt what you're going to do. You're not going to strip.
Yeah.
But you adapt your act to make it kind of family friendly, and you can do that. But generally speaking, yes, it is a nightlife thing, and it's, strictly 18 plus.
Yeah. Speaking of burlesque and 18 plus and so forth, we had a listener who sent in a question earlier, and I think you're the perfect person to answer this for us. Is there something called a flame dame? Because this is something that came to my attention recently from a listener. And I know drag is not, the burlesque is different, but maybe you hang out in the same circles. In drag, there are women who dress as men who dress as women. So a flame dame is like a female drag queen.
So we would call them AFABs. So they're AFAB queens. So that's assigned female at birth. So they are female. They present female in their drag.
Yeah.
So I would call that an AFAB drag, AFAB queen. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm so happy.
I've not heard flame dame, but I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you Google flame dame, you don't get the same results. If you Google that, then suddenly you get derogatory terms like fag, hag, homo, honey, things like that. And those are different. According to this listener, at least, these are not a derogatory category. Anyway, well, we will, AFAB queens is less confusing. Yeah, we'll go with that. Okay. So this body positivity, was there a specific burlesque icon or someone who inspired you to go with this?
Yeah, I love, there's an American performer called Dirty Martini, who's been around kind of since the late 90s, 2000s, who's an incredible performer, an amazing tassler. She's an expert tassler who really embodies that for me, and I've always really looked up to her. She's incredible. Are you looking her up? Dirty Martini. Yeah.
Incredible. I mean, all of these people you mentioned so far I've looked up. And yeah, she's a slightly larger performer, but really exceptional outfits. So you have this stuff on too, like these crazy, she has like an entire seashell behind her or something like that, like very artistic.
Yeah. Well, I do all sorts of weird. I mean, I don't have the money that Dirty Martini has, so I'm not going to say that I have costumes quite as ornate and fabulous, but you do the best that you can with the money that you have. So for example, I don't have a car. I get booked to do gigs all over the UK and some abroad as well. I have an act where I am a fortune teller, and I have a full-sized fortune teller's booth that I sit in at the beginning of it. It looks amazing and I love it. And a friend of mine painted it in a kind of traditional seaside style. It's fantastic. And I loved it. And I'm like, this is great. I'm going to make an act around that. And then I realized, yeah, right. I'm going to have to carry this around on the train. So there's me going down to gigs from Hastings, like going across London on the tube with like a full-size box. You can imagine how popular I am with that. But yeah, I mean, the costume is really important, and the more fabulous that you can make it, the better. So yeah, all the rhinestones, all the fringe, all that sort of thing. The more the better.
As an act, I love that. But personally, that sounds like a nightmare. There are hundreds of hours of me now on the internet, and it's become very clear that one thing I'm not comfortable with is dancing.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, even though I've had several on the show, is tarot readers and such.
All right.
Their potions and their magic. I'm gonna come to that. When is your next fortune teller outing? Because I feel like I have to subject myself to that.
Well, strangely enough, one of the next one of the next gigs that I've got wanted me to do that act, but I can't because the box is at the moment stranded at a friend's house because I couldn't get it back on the train. So I had to say, no, I can't do that act until I go up to Reading and pick the box up again. But I'll let you know when I'm next doing that one.
Fabulous. Any wardrobe malfunctions over your short yet illustrious career?
All the time. Yeah, the main one, main one for me seems to be getting out of corsets, which is a really scary thing because if you get a corset with a zip, it's very easy. If you get a corset with the kind of busk, so with the sort of bits that you have to clip out, it can be very difficult to kind of get out of those smoothly. And I have another act that's a Pride and Prejudice act where I cut myself out of my corset with scissors. And that really started because I was so fed up with getting stuck in my corset. I wanted to find a way of knowing that I would get out of my corset. So I realized that one way to do it would be to cut the ribbons up the back. So I kind of made an act based around that I could cut myself out of it. And some performers do have a pair of scissors, like in the wings or something, just in case you get tangled up. Because it's a bit of a kind of anticlimax if you can't get out of the last bit of your costume, if you know what I
mean. Yeah. And thank you for providing me with a hardball here, because everyone has to answer something tough. Here you go. You gave it to me. Corsets. Isn't there an element you're contradicting a little bit yourself here if the point is body positivity in all shapes and types? But why squeeze it all into an uncomfortable corset then, if we're celebrating the lusciousness and voluptuousness?
See, the corset comes off, so you see what's underneath it. But also, I mean, nobody is saying we are portraying a realistic person on stage. You are allowed to be as fantastical as you want to be. So you can go on stage with no makeup at all. You could go on stage with whatever clothes you wear walking down the street and make an act around that. But you can also be as fantastical and glamorous as you want to be in whatever you decide is glamour. I personally like wearing corsets because I think they look fantastic. But there's no hard and fast rules with that, really. You don't have to have that. But what you're doing is kind of being yourself, but being a super person version of yourself. So you can be as fantastic as you want to be in whatever way you want to.
Do you do like beginner classes?
Yeah, so I run classes in the town that I live in called Hastings, and I go from a complete beginner, so people who've never ever done any burlesque before, and I do a course of that, and then I do a second course after that, which is a kind of act development course. So that is letting people come in with an idea for an act that they want to do and helping them shape that. And then at the end of that course, we do a showcase and they perform their act. And some people will do it and never ever do an act again, enjoy themselves, but never have no desire to ever do that again. And some people do it again and again and again and go on to get cast in different shows and spread their wings and go off on their own. So
all right, so let's do this. I'll give you some traits of mine. Let's say I show up. Okay, positive traits, very open mind and used to be athletic, so quite flexible and will be able to contort myself into movements you wouldn't expect. Negative traits, no sense of rhythm, and let myself go in the past decade, a little overweight. also another negative trait, will make fun of myself. Possibly others if they can handle it, but mostly myself the whole time. So, what kind of act are we planning here? You have a soundtrack for me?
Yeah, I think we want like let's get physical. I think we want you as some sort of PT trainer or something like that. An aging PT trainer. But I mean the idea of making fun of yourself is really a great thing to have. And I had a student who said something once that kind of really resonated with me, because it's like, I can't remember exactly how she said it, but it was something like burlesque kind of allowed me to simultaneously take myself very seriously, but also completely take the piss out of myself. So you having the ability to laugh at yourself is really important, but it's also, I don't like it when it's kind of directed at you and what you think is negative about you.
Yeah. I'm thinking maybe, there's this stereotype that women cheat with tennis coaches. So I'm thinking maybe like I come in as like a sexy tennis coach, like an old pro who's a little bit chubby, but still like can do all the movements. I'll do like a sexy tennis dance or something.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. Have you got a song? Can you think of a song?
Oh, I see that's where I need you, because I'm terrible. Well, what do you come on to now with, let's say, your most recent act? What was one of your songs?
Oh my goodness. So I've picked music that is anything from very traditional burlesque music to utterly ridiculous things, to rock, to northern soul, to anything really. And it kind of depends, like, when you get an idea for an act, it can come from lots of different places. A lot of mine come from film. I'm a bit of a film buff. Well, I'm not a real film buff, but I like films, so a lot of them come from films as well. So I think one of the ones that I'm going to do in the next couple of months, which is very old act, but I'm going to bring it back again, is based on I, Tonya, about Tonya Harding, the ice skater.
Awesome. Winter Olympics coming up as well, yeah.
I know. And that film has some great kind of 80s music in it. So I use that. So there's all sorts of like different places where you get inspiration and ideas from.
I have my burlesque songs, okay? You ready?
Okay. Yeah, go on.
For faster scenes, Van Halen. We
Yeah.
go with Jump, or even better, Ain't Talking About Love. You know that Eddie's guitar tone in that.
Mhm.
Excellent. And then for slower scenes, maybe Led Zeppelin's When the Levee Breaks or something.
That would be good when there's something breaks.
Yeah. When the seams of my tight tennis trousers break
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah. Also, oh yeah, because we can have tear off trousers,
Yeah.
stripper trousers.
I believe you now. You're a pro. I
I
believe
think
you.
you need to. I think you need to sign up for some burlesque classes. This sounds like a new career for you.
One of the things I asked you offline was whether have you gone full cliche? You're a body positivity burlesque performer. Have you used Fat Bottom Girls by Queen?
No, I haven't, but I've seen acts to that. There's definitely acts out there to it. Yeah.
Did you spit on them for going with such an easy choice?
No. I like Queen. I love Queen. So no, not at all.
Awesome. Hey, towards the end, I wanted to ask you, celebrity dream burlesque partner. Who would you perform with if you got to choose?
I don't know really. That was because that's quite a difficult one. I mean, I've said who my celebrity burlesque person would be, which would be Dirty Martini. A celebrity, I don't know. I think because of a lot of what I do is about older women, I would look at some kind of amazing older celebrities. I kind of like someone like Helen Mirren or something like that.
I saw on the online in some interview that you wanted her to play you in a movie.
Yeah, I would love that. She's amazing.
I would watch that movie, if
So yeah, it would be some real kick-ass older actress, I think. Maybe Helen Mirren, because I love her quote about what she would tell her younger self, which would be to tell people to F off more often. And that's the kind of attitude you need, I think. So yeah.
mine's easy. I've already drafted an email as we speak to his agent. So I'm gonna be the tennis coach, and the cuckolded husband is gonna be played by Jonah Hill.
Okay.
And I'm thinking we perhaps could combine this with the Helen Mirren playing you as the madame who runs the whole operation.
Okay, this is turning into a film now, and this is making me suspicious. Where are we going with this?
Yeah, I don't know. But hey, I mean, I've I've lost track of the awesomeness of actual burlesque, because now in my head there's all these like
Now you're writing a porno, basically, aren't you?
no, it was gonna be a really tasteful like indie potential Oscar bait for all three of us, you know. So, hey, where's it going next? For you personally, and maybe for the art form as a whole. We've covered a little bit about where it came from and where it is now, but what do you think is the future? Robots, AI? Because that's the future of everything, it seems.
No, and I mean, over COVID, it did go online, which was really quite bizarre. We went through quite a bizarre stage of having online burlesque, and there are still online burlesque shows where you pre-record your act, and it started off with people like recording their act in their front room with piles of laundry behind them and all sorts of things like that, which I didn't really like. But then it got kind of a bit like you made a little creative film, and I really enjoyed that, and I still do kind of enjoy doing that. And I did a show recently where they do a kind of multimedia thing, so you have a screen behind you where you can play a film while you're performing, and that was really fun. So the kind of multimedia stuff I quite enjoyed doing. But I think it's essentially because it's so much about, and I know this is a real cliche, it sounds like a real lovey cliche, but it's so much about building a relationship with the audience that it's never really going to be replaced, it being kind of in some slightly dingy bar somewhere. And I like that, you know. I think that's good.
Me too. I think it is. I think it is an art form that certainly won't go away ever. I think that's good. And perhaps AI would have, if we just had some of that technology during the pandemic, it could have made your online thing much better, because filming something with piles of laundry, nowadays we have software that will take your dance and your performance and just insert it onto a really cool looking stage, and people can watch it almost like a movie.
Yeah, but I like doing my own. I mean, I live like by the sea, so I had already at that stage a kind of a siren mermaidy type act. So I went out and filmed myself on the beach and in the sea and all sorts of stuff like that, and cut all that together, and that was really fun. It was a really good thing to do. I'm not a big fan of AI, so you know.
No. So for you personally, what's next? Are you planning to grow the show and the business, or whatever you call it, and maybe full time, or is it just extra retirement income? What's the plan for you?
If I was going to retire on the money that I'm making from this, I would be sorely, sorely, sorely disappointed. No, I really just want to carry on doing what I'm doing. I love performing. I really love teaching. So I really want to carry on doing that. I mean, realistically, as I get older, I need to kind of make sure that it's sustainable for me to do it. The act that I did when I first started 7 or so years ago, I probably couldn't do it now. I'm not as flexible and fit. And so it is about kind of adapting stuff to make sure that you're not, you know, that it's still sustainable for you and you can still move well and you're not going to damage yourself doing it. So I'm quite interested in that process as well, in kind of making it maybe a bit slower, maybe a bit less athletic, but still interesting and magnetic to look at. And you can do that. So the kind of most famous, up until recently, there was something called the Burlesque Hall of Fame, which was a museum of burlesque history, but it also runs annual shows. And part of those shows is a show for the burlesque legends. And that's where they are bringing really seasoned burlesque performers who've been performing for decades. And they will bring on these stars who have been working in burlesque, as I said, forever, who are in their 60s, their 70s, their 80s, and they're still performing. And watching some of those people perform is stunning, because obviously they are not able to throw themselves around the stage in a way that a 20-year-old would. But the kind of control that they have and the kind of command that they have, and in a way the stillness that they have in their acts, is really compelling.
Yeah. That's interesting. By the way, Burlesque Hall of Fame, I was gonna ask where it was, but I'm gonna guess it's in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's in Las Vegas.
I mean, this is easy for me. My public service announcement today is if you have to be in Las Vegas, at least go see that, because that's way more interesting than slot machines.
Unfortunately, it's shut down.
Oh.
Within the last year, the museum, so the physical place, has shut down. It still exists as an organisation, so they still put on events. So it's well worth kind of going to the website and seeing if there are special events on. But yeah, as a museum, unfortunately, they had to close it down.
I say we restart this as a small time, not big facilities, low overheads, but on the south coast of Britain, say Hastings, where they say Hastings is the Las Vegas of the south coast of Britain, don't they? Many of them say that. I've heard.
Who says that? People who've not visited, probably.
I hear it around the fish market all the time.
Yeah. Hastings is it's a very interesting place, though. Hastings, there's a lot of kind of weirdness and wildness that goes on in Hastings that has been around for a very, very long time. It has a very big kind of pagan tradition. It's got a lot of festivals of people dressing up in costume and doing strange stuff. So it's a good place to do burlesque, I have to say.
Yeah. I'm going to include a link to that Hall of Fame site as well. It's legitimately interesting. Where can people find you or come see you or find your social media? We'll put all the links there, but say it out loud as well. So
the best place would be on Instagram. So I am on Instagram at Pupin DeVert. So that's PUPINDEVERT. And if you go onto that, you'll see all the links for the shows that I'm performing in, the shows that I produce. So I put on shows in my own town, the main one being The Gorgeous Show, and the links to my teaching as well. So the Hastings School of Burlesque.
Awesome. Oh, wait, one more question. I almost forgot. Serious question. Sorry to have it at the end here. Any harassers who come to these shows? Like, is there a problem with safety of the performers in burlesque?
There can be. People can be idiots. Yes. So you do get people who will try and kind of grab performers and try and interrupt in some ways. Generally, it's more like kind of over enthusiastic. I want to be up there too. Showing off rather than any ill intent. You do get some. So if you have shows that have trans performers in, or any kind of performers that people who are idiots don't want to see on stage, you do get sort of stupidity and heckling and stuff like that. So you always have security there. You usually have a strong host who sets out at the beginning of the show what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And I do hosting at my own shows, and it's very much the first part is like laying out the ground rules of what you can and you can't do as an audience. And generally, if you do that, if people know what they can and can't do, then that's what they're there to enjoy themselves. There's not many people who go there to cause trouble.
Have you avoided this for the most part? Because I can imagine you have quite a tight, snappy style of talking. I feel like you might have avoided this just by psychology, you know?
Yeah, and you have to kind of, that whoever is hosting or whoever is kind of looking after the room, you have to be able to control the room and make sure, because you want people to be enthusiastic and into it and shouting and screaming and reacting and all that sort of thing. Noise and enthusiasm and cheering is very much part of the experience for the performers and for the audience. And burlesque audiences are encouraged to make a lot of noise and be reactive, but you also need it to be safe as well. So you need to kind of set out the boundaries of like enthusiasm versus kind of, not being safe.
Excellent. All right. Pupin DeVert. Amazing. Thank you. Fascinating stuff.
You're welcome.
Would love to have a inspiring something for people to keep in mind about burlesque or anything.
Just give it a go. If you in any way go to burlesque and watch it or listen to someone talking about burlesque and you think, that sounds interesting, that would be fun, give it a go. Because I think people know very quickly if they just go like, no, that's completely not for me, just not my thing. Fine, sounds lovely, but not for me. If you're in any way like, oh, yeah, I could see myself doing that, or, oh, that would be fun, give it a go. Go to a class, just kind of try it. And don't believe that you have to be a certain sort of person, a certain age, a certain size, a certain race, a certain anything to be a burlesque performer. You really don't. Anyone can do it.
And keep the art form alive. It makes me think of like 1920s Paris or something, Hemingway or something like that, Yeah. Hey, thanks so much for your time. And
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.